Long playoff droughts end in Minnesota and Anaheim, and boy, are there questions in Dallas and Edmonton. Welcome to NHL Wraparound Stanley Cupdate. Hey, May 1st, 2026. Vic and Neil taking you into the first weekend of the month, and if you see either of us dancing around the maypole today, it's because breaking news, we got our first ever download in Kazakhstan today, and that marks the 100th country and territory that we have been listened in.
That's wonderful. And don't we have a big mark for the month of March as well that you were going to tell everybody about?
All-time download month for us, over 7,800, and it's the fifth consecutive month of growth for us. So thanks to all of you out there that have listened and are supporting us. It's just great that people have gravitated towards us and make us a priority in listening, because there are so many options out there to listen to podcasts.
There sure are, but it's a lot of fun doing this. We're going to keep doing it, and we hope that you just tell your friends and neighbors and coworkers to subscribe, like us, leave a review, and the more the merrier.
All right. We just took care of the end of the show. So let's get back to the topics at hand here. 2 elimination games, and both of them came to pass. First one, Minnesota Wild with a 5-2 win in Game 6 over the Dallas Stars. They win that series 4-2. They will meet the Colorado Avalanche in the second round. The Wild have won 2 of the 3 previous series between the clubs, both in 7th game overtimes, the first coming in 2003, game-winning goal by Nashville Predators coach Andrew Brunette, and then in 2014, goal off the stick of Nino Niederreiter. Both teams won twice during the course of their regular season meetings, one of those coming in a shootout. But let's get to the game, Neil, because quick start for the Wild. Quinn Hughes scored at 6:23, and then 8 minutes in, Jake Ottinger had a slide to make a stop on Marcus Foligno, and early on, I thought that Minnesota, clearly the better team, going for the jugular early.
Oh, yeah. I think the shots were 5 or 6 to 1, and the play was all in the Dallas zone. The white jerseys barely had the puck early going in this game. Minnesota jumped them right away.
And I also thought from a physical perspective, they were completely engaged in this game. And in particular, Marcus Foligno, who just mentioned a moment ago, almost had a chance to make it 2-0. He blows up Esa Lindell on a body check. And then Mikko Rantanen had to leave the game briefly after Foligno actually took a shot, and Rantanen tried to hit him, ended up face first on the ice and had to go off to pass concussion protocol, and then also had a big hit on Liam Bichel. So you could see how engaged the Wild were throughout this game. Foligno finished with 6 hits, and I know that we have kind of taken that stat to task a little bit of what a hit is and what it isn't. But in this case, legitimate contacts by Marcus Foligno.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you how engaged the Minnesota Wild were in this game right from the outset. They didn't want this to go back to Dallas. They wanted to finish the job in Minnesota, and you could see that. They were bound and determined to do that, and they played the game that way. Dallas looked like they weren't quite ready for that kind of an onslaught in the beginning.
Alex Petrovic actually delivered a big hit on Marcus's brother, Nick, and shook him up for a little bit, but it didn't stop the Wild in the first period. 7 of 4 shots, 17 of 7 in attempts. I mean, 7 attempts by the Stars in the first period.
Just goes to show you, though, they couldn't get it into the zone to get an attempt. I mean, attempts are great. If I go more on shots, but I think they both represent the same thing. The shots were 7 to 4. The attempts were 17-7. That means the puck was where most of the time? In the Dallas zone.
Stars were a little bit better. Start of the second period, they get a power play in which they were so dependent in this series. They wind up scoring 10 out of their 15 goals with the man advantage, and it's Wyatt Johnston evening the score at 1. Soon after that, on a Minnesota power play, it was Matt Zuccarello with a shot that hit Jake Ottinger on the shoulder and then hit the goalpost. And, oh boy, 16:08 mark, late in the period, it's Maverick Bourque scoring on a rebound of a shot taken by Michael Bunting. It was probably a little bit misguided blocker save by Jesper Wallstedt. Stars able to convert, and they're thinking, we're going to go into this intermission with a lead and possibly the chance to win this game, bring it back home. Yeah, that lasted for less than a minute because Vlad Tarasenko on a rebound, it's even going to the third period.
And Tarasenko, of course, great goal scorer in his younger days with the St. Louis Blues and has always been a guy that's an opportunist. And he was right there beside the net when the rebound came to put it in basically a yawning cage.
Jesper Wallstedt probably made his best save of the third off Colin Blackwell midway through the period. And then just after that, 9:22 left in regulation, it's Hughes with his second goal of the game. This is a shot that goes off Bischel's skate. It almost looked like he was trying to do that on purpose.
You never know with him. He's so skilled, but that's his second goal of the game. I think second goal of the playoffs, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and so I think that there could be no better time for Hughes to get his first two goals of the playoffs than in this game, which was such a paramount game to Minnesota going anywhere in the playoffs.
Late in the game, Dallas is trying to tie this thing, but they really didn't have a lot of good possession time in the Minnesota zone. Matt Boldy scores a pair of empty netters, and once again, a lot of questions to be answered for the Dallas Stars because this is a team year after year. We see them loading up, and it looks like they are going to be the team to beat. And we're going to talk about this 2-3 matchup in a minute, but they had a 2-1 lead in this series, and they were ahead late in Game 4 and couldn't put this thing away.
Remind everybody, how far did they go last year with Peter DeBoer?
Conference final.
Conference final. This is the first round. Now they're out in the first round. So you make the change. You fire Peter DeBoer. I'm not disagreeing with that, by the way. I'm not trying to make Jim Nill look bad on this. I'm just trying to say that sometimes you try to make changes and you think, I've got to get a new commander-in-chief behind the bench. You put one in there. Glenn Gulletson does a good job this season, no doubt about that. But you get into that horrible first-round matchup, 2-3, which you've been waiting on for a couple of months. And the teams are pretty darn even. And all of a sudden, Dallas is going home after the first round, 11 days into the playoffs, and they're already done.
Well, let's also remember on the DeBoer thing that there were some other factors in there. And, of course, pulling Ottinger at 2-0 in that final game, and it looked like there was some friction there. So, there was stuff that was going on. There was stuff, also.
But didn't he take them to the conference final 3 years in a row?
He did. He did.
You'd have to be a lot of stuff for him to lose his job over stuff. But in any case, he did. And that was my point. And then you change coaches. You try to change a lot of things. And the result is what it is.
So do you want to go back and lament this 2-3 matchup? Because we all knew how strong these two clubs were. Not only were they second and third in the Central, they were second and third in the West. They were numbers 3 and 7 overall. And had this been a 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5, I think this would have served a lot of people much better because it would just be balancing the playing field. And had this taken place, Dallas would have played Anaheim in the first round and Minnesota would have played Utah.
I mean, in my world, you work all regular season to get a good positioning in the playoffs, or perhaps if you're down below, you work all season to get into the playoffs. But the teams that do the best during the regular season should be rewarded with getting the weakest teams in the first round. Dallas's reward for ending second to Colorado shouldn't have been to play a team that got only a few points less than them in Minnesota. It should have been, as you have said, Dallas's reward should have been to play Anaheim. It would have been fairer than the system is right now.
And as it is, it was Anaheim playing Edmonton in the other game on Thursday evening. And it's the Ducks winning their first playoff series since beating the Oilers in Game 7 of the second round in 2017. They will go on to meet the winner of the Golden Knights Mammoth series. It's a 5-2 win for Anaheim. And early on, it was decided by Chris Knobloch. He's going to start with McDavid and Draisaitl together. Eventually, that broke apart. And I thought, regardless, Edmonton asserted itself fairly well to start this game, but they didn't generate a lot of chances. And then bad luck started to set in particular for Connor Ingram in goal for the Oilers. A John Carlson shot, double deflection, and it winds up going in off Ryan Poehling just over the goal line. It's the first time in the 6 games that the Ducks open the scoring.
And it was obviously very important that they get this goal and put Edmonton back on their heels. I want to remind you of something that I've been saying all along, and that is that Dostal versus Ingram is a bad matchup for Edmonton. Edmonton just doesn't have the goaltending. They thought they didn't have it with Stu Skinner. They certainly don't have it with Connor Ingram, who was let go by Utah, passed through waivers, signed an American League deal, and now that's the goalie that Edmonton played in the playoffs.
But that goal, clearly not his fault.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying the goaltending matchup was not in the favor of the Oilers.
Listen, 4 minutes later, a 3-on-2, which really should have been a 3-on-3, just an absolutely brutal back check by Kasperi Kapanen, and it's Troy Terry and Leo Carlsson combining to hit a wide-open Chris Kreider coming down the right side, takes an off-wing one-timer on his 35th birthday to make it 2-0. Think Kreider's happy with his new home in Anaheim?
Beautiful shot right over the short side shoulder of Connor Ingram. It was a beauty. It was perfectly placed, and I'm sure that all the Ranger fans watching the game just sat there with a box of Kleenex beside them.
Connor Murphy managed to get the Oilers within a goal coming in from his defense position to bang one in from in close. But on the Ducks' first power play of the game, it's Cutter Gauthier with a shot that deflects off Darnell Nurse's stick and plops in over the shoulder of Ingram. More bad puck luck for Ingram, and it's 3-1. That's the 8th power play goal of the series. They were 50% overall. Hello, Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah, and you know, that shot by Gauthier, he's got such a rocket. Obviously, it was helped by the shaft of Nurse's stick, went high, this time up over the other shoulder of Ingram. Kreider having scored on his left shoulder, this went in over his right shoulder. And here we go, Ducks.
Second period, Zach Hyman was stopped on a breakaway by Dostal. Troy Terry hit a post with about 7 minutes left in the second. They would have made the score 4-1, and then it's Dostal coming up big again on Vasily Podkolzin. With a minute 32 left, Hyman, I think he knew this goal was coming off the board, because if there was ever a play where a goal went in off of a distinct kicking motion, this was it.
Well, there was one the other day, too. Remember the distinct kicking motion that looked like a soccer kick? Almost putting the puck into the net. I forget who that was. But anyway, yeah, Hyman obviously knew that he had kicked this in and no goal.
So with 47 seconds left in the period, and the Oilers have to think that they're still in this game. You're only down 2. And, of course, I had asked you to comment on the virtues of Evan Bouchard's offense and how great he was. But now I'm going to give you the forum on the goal, which basically put the nail in the coffin for the Oilers.
Yeah, Bouchard was in the neutral zone and was soft on his stick. The puck got by him. He didn't make much of an effort to chase the guys down, and they go right in and score, and it's a big nail in the coffin for the Edmonton Oilers, all because of Bouchard being soft in the neutral zone.
And you'll have more in just a second, because in the third period, Podkolzin scored 73 seconds in, and you're thinking, maybe there's a push here for the Oilers. Matt Savoy hit a post later on, but there wasn't that sustained pressure that I thought we were going to see from Edmonton. It looked like they were spent, had nothing left in the tank, and then Leo Carlsson sealed it with an empty net goal.
Yeah, and that obviously does seal it whenever you see that go in. And, I got to say that the difference between the Edmonton Oilers today and the Edmonton Oilers team of 2 years ago that Chris Knobloch took over is they don't have depth. So if you don't get Draisaitl and McDavid and Hyman scoring, there's nobody else there to score. I mean, yes, Nugent Hopkins is still there, and he is a great player. But they don't have the depth. They don't have the waves that can come at you like they had 2 years ago.
I teased people that you had more to say on Bouchard on this empty net goal, so go ahead.
Well, Bouchard breaks his stick over the post on the empty net goal. I mean, that's the one lasting image you have of the season for the Oilers, him being, getting soft in the neutral zone and then busting his stick over the net because Carlson scored the empty net goal. He might be up for the Norris Trophy this year. He might be one of the finalists because of his offensive prowess, but he doesn't deserve to be the best defenseman in the league.
Here's something else to note, Neil. Connor McDavid is a -3. I'm sure we are now going to hear more about this injury that he suffered to his ankle earlier in the series when he clipped skates with Matthias Ekholm. And you got to wonder what the future is going to be with him, because he just signed this 2-year extension. I think it's always easy to react to this in the immediacy of what has just taken place. But unless there are some major changes going on in Edmonton, I don't see this team getting any closer to the Cup final in the next 2 years. And look, one of the things we can cite here also, and we've talked so much about the Florida Panthers and their fatigue and just the attrition that everything has taken its toll on them going to the finals 3 years in a row. The Oilers have been there back-to-back years and lost. So not only is it the physical drain that it takes on their bodies, but the mental piece of losing in both of those years also. This is going to be a long summer in Edmonton.
Oh, because their postseason only lasted 11 days longer than Florida's. So, of course, it's going to be a long time. We've got McDavid now with an expiration date that's 2 years away. The team is getting older, as everybody is, but their window is closing. There's no doubt to me that the Edmonton Oilers window is closing. Can they do something to make that window a little bit bigger? I don't think so. I just don't think so. So McDavid gave them a hometown discount, even though it's not his hometown. Gave them a big discount to use money to fortify the team, but I don't see how they're going to do it. If Stan Bowman and his staff can somehow do it, God bless them, but I don't know how you do it.
Well, the first thing they're going to have to do is address this goaltending situation. And as we said, it wasn't really Connor Ingram's fault last night, but you could see just how his body language is in the net. He didn't look comfortable the entire night. And I don't think that this is the guy that the Oilers want to hitch their wagon to, no more than Tristan Jarry.
Well, and there is a guy, number 74 in Pittsburgh right now that maybe could have helped them last night. That's Stu Skinner. I'll just never understand that, trading Stu Skinner for Tristan Jarry. I'll never get it. This goaltending is something they must address in the offseason. There's just no way around that.
Can't wait to do that spring cleaning. The Friday schedule, 3 Game 6s. Tampa Bay at Montreal. Canadiens leading that series 3-2, 7 o'clock on ESPN2. That top line for Tampa needs to get going in this one.
Oh, absolutely. And if they don't get going tonight, they better get going on the golf course because they'll be gone. They have to show up tonight big time, but I have a feeling they will. Kucherov loves to do things in the other team's building. He loves to just taunt people. I look for him to have a great game.
Well, he's going to need to because he didn't have a very great game in Game 5. Buffalo and Boston play their sixth game at TD Garden. Sabres leading that series 3-2, 7:30 on ESPN. And then the late game, the Vegas Golden Knights at Utah, with Vegas leading 3-2. The pair of 5-4 overtime victories to put them ahead in the series. That game at 10 o'clock on ESPN. So quickly, do all these end, or you think we're seeing a seventh game somewhere?
Well, wait a minute. Go back and tell everybody how we did on Thursday's schedule.
I was hoping that you would just go past that.
No, I'm not going to allow that.
All right. I was 0-2. You were 1-1.
1-1. You were 0-2 because you picked Dallas and Edmonton.
Yes, I know who.
And I picked Dallas and Anaheim.
Okay.
So let's go to tonight's schedule. All these game sixes. Tell me who you got. Tampa at Montreal.
I think Tampa and Montreal have been so tightly contested, and I can't see this going any other way. Vasilevsky may have to be the best player on the ice for Tampa because Montreal can feel it. It will be a great celebration if they can bring this home. I think Tampa wins this one.
Tampa, you say, wins this game. I'm going to agree with you and say Tampa forces this back to Florida. Buffalo at Boston. Who you got?
I have the Sabres. I think they're the better team here. I think Boston played an absolutely outstanding game, staying alive in Game 5. But I do believe that the Sabres are the better team here, and they're not going to want to risk taking this to a Game 7. So I got Buffalo.
Okay, and I'm going to take Boston because I think Boston's going to want to play a lot better at home than they have been playing, and especially that one game where they just were probably the worst playoff game a team has played so far this year. So I've got Boston in that one. Go ahead now. Vegas in Salt Lake City.
I think a lot of this is going to be based on how well the Mammoth can respond from two really devastating losses, particularly when they had Game 5 in the last minute and let Vegas off the mat. And then that series of events, you give up a shorthanded goal to fall behind in the series. And I also think that the Golden Knights have played better in Utah than they have in their own building. And I think Vegas finishes this series.
All right. Well, just because I want this to be a fun competition, I'm going to say that the Utah Mammoth send this back to Vegas just so that we can have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, you're just being a contrarian.
Not in the first game. We both have Tampa Bay.
2 out of 3. Now, also to know that even though any of these three series could go to a seventh game, Carolina and Philadelphia will open their second round series 8 o'clock on ABC. Networks obviously not wanting to have any dark windows in there. So Carolina's already been off a week anyway. So I think it's good for them to get going again.
Yeah, but that should have nothing to do with it. They should wait till all this first round is over before they start playing the second round. What do you think? Do you think they should start the second round before the first round's even over?
It could be, but it also might not be. And yes, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they should start the series before everything is officially completed.
Good. I'm glad we agree on something because I thought you might stick up for the TV network at your old bosses there at ABC.
You know me better than that. Hey, before we go, Lady Big nominees, Cole Caulfield, Anze Kopitar, 3-time winner, and defenseman Jake Sanderson for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
So do you want to make a pick here because you've got the second leading goal scorer in the NHL this season and, as I said, 3-time winner and a backliner? Who you got?
Anze Kopitar for win number 4.
I'm going to go with Caulfield.
Okay.
I think there's enough feel good, Kopitar retiring and everything. Let's spread the wealth around. And I think Caulfield's season certainly deserves
And everybody,
that.
don't forget that the league has, for whatever reason, decided a couple of years ago to start announcing these winners during the playoffs and not wait for the one night when, it all gets decided at an awards night. So we will know these winners during the playoffs. And once again, Vic can poke fun at me if I don't have the right guy.
Trust me, I don't need award announcements to poke fun, nor do you for that matter. Neil and I will be back on Monday. We're going to do the second round preview with Craig Button. Even though the round will have started already, we're going to look back at our predictions in round number 1 and have a lot of fun looking ahead to all 4 second round matchups. So on behalf of Neil, I'm Vic. Enjoy the weekend.